Welcome to episode 3 on how I keep productive, and today I want to talk to you about Evernote. So let's go. Hi, I'm Aaron Jones, and welcome to another episode of How I Keep Productive. This is episode 3, and how I use Evernote in my daily life. Now, my Evernote I use as a place of reference. Things I keep all my things stored, history, documents that I no longer need. Everything I do like that gets put into Evernote. Now, I used to do a lot of writing in Evernote, but I no longer do a lot of writing. I do keep a lot of notes in Evernote because it's Evernote, but when I'm doing scripts or writing long form, I use a different app. I use Ulysses right now, and I'll do an episode about that later, and how I use that in my daily productive schedule scheme way of getting things done. But basically, what I use the Evernote is an archive of notes and documents and useful reference materials that I need to access, and it gets all put into Evernote. Now, I do have an Evernote premium account because I use Evernote every day, and I use it on my iPhone, I use it on my Mac, I use it on my iPad, and I even use it on my Apple Watch. My Apple Watch is useful. You can see here, as I'm filming this, I use the Apple Watch to control my iPhone to film my YouTube videos because I can see the screen. So, yeah, this is very useful. Just very useful in these little small things if you can find them in your everyday life. But anyways, we're talking about productivity of Evernote, not how I use my Apple Watch to be productive, because these can be very useful. And maybe that's an episode I will do in the future. But I'm going to kind of briefly show you my layout in Evernote, and I'll talk to you about how I have it. My setup may be different from other people's that you hear. Mine is not tag heavy. Mine is very notebook heavy because that's how my brain works, and that's how I originally set up Evernote. And I've used Evernote ever since, basically since it first came out. I remember having it on my iPhone 3G. This is 3GS. I had Evernote on there, and I had put notes and stuff in there. So that's a long time ago. We're going back, it's almost 10 years. Not quite 10 years, but a long time ago. Maybe 10 years ago. It's maybe 10 years ago. I'm not going to look it up because I'm too lazy. But anyways, instead of me blabbering here, let's get into the application. Now, I'm going to try to hide my notes because, a lot of personal information is there. I don't have a dummy account. I'm just going to kind of show you the mess that I have set up and how I input information there every day and how I keep things up to date. So let's get into that right now. Okay, so let's get into my Evernote account here. Now, I'm going to just show you from the notebook size. Now, my Evernote account is very notebook heavy, as I mentioned earlier. This is because when I first set it up, this is how my brain works. Now, I have tags, and I am going through and cleaning up my tags. So if I click in my tags, you can see it's a mess. Now, I have been going through cleaning up and consolidating some of these to make things a little bit easier. But recently, in the last couple of years, everything I have entered into Evernote has had proper tags in it. It's stuff from a few years ago that is kind of messed up, and going through and trying to fix things up a little bit. Anyways, but I'm not so worried because the search feature is good. I can find those notes even without the tags. Though it's nice to click the tag and have notes in that category come up. But, eventually I will get there. But basically, I have an inbox where I filter everything out, and if you follow Getting Things Done, this is a very useful thing. Everything gets put into the inbox and then later sorted out into its proper, in my case, into its proper notebooks. And I got my basic, I'll just go through, this is my Aaron Jones notebook. This is the original notebook. This is just stuff that I put myself, and I keep track of like lists and stuff like that. It gets good in there. I don't use that very often. You haven't used it for a while. And I have one for my aquariums, and I have bank informations, and this was an application, Blogo app for iOS, which I haven't used for a while. I had problems connecting it to my website to do blogs, but it connected, and you could write your blogs in Evernote, and then the Blogo app would sync it between the application, and then when you published it to your WordPress website. They have a brain dump notebook where I do brain dumps and stuff, calendars. I have calendars where I keep backups of my calendars that are analog, and I'll talk about that later when I do my analog. But I actually have scans of all my calendars, the analog versions, which I store in there. And you can see that since I've been doing that since 2015 and 2008. I have there. So every week, my weekly calendar gets scanned into here as a reference because of the paid feature. I can search through the text and stuff comes up there. So it's also easy to have. I can go back and look because sometimes I have notes in my analog calendar which are not present in the digital versions, and so I'll talk about that in the next in 2 episodes later when I get into the analog one. And then I have things like Costco and documents, medical information. I store all copies of all medical and dental receipts and stuff in here. And then I was playing around with the to-do button, but you can see it's very heavily organized. I don't have a thing for work. I have notebooks for each things that I do. Now, for example, when I have projects, so I have a YouTube stack for YouTube. And for Magic, when I'm doing my Magic, I have a Magic notebook stack that has 5 notebooks inside. These are my project ones, how I broke it down. And I have a work one, and I have just random documents. These are documents, for example, like copies of my passport, my Japanese permanent residency card, stuff like this. I keep this in the food. This is from application a long time ago, the Evernote application one. I think I used it twice. That's why there are 2 notes in there. Home was a different thing, but I have put home into the projects in a different notebook for now. Hotels in Japan, I keep track of information from hotels, so such as maps and brochures and stuff like that, and parking. So, for example, when I go to stay in a hotel in Osaka, the hotel itself may not have its own parking lot. They have affiliate parking lot nearby, and so I'll scan the maps in here because I use the same hotels, and that way I can find the parking lots. Because if you ever drive in Osaka, it's crazy. Okay, it's like one of the craziest places to drive in downtown. So this is basically how I have it set up, and everything goes into the inbox, and then I sort it out. And like I said, I don't do a lot of writing in here anymore. It's all mostly reference materials. For the YouTube stuff, I do all my descriptions for the YouTube. I have a sample one, and then I cut and paste and enter things into that. Though I am trying to do a system using the other program. What's the program called? What's this one? My brain has gone. This one, Text Expander, to do my descriptions and stuff by just inputting it. But right now, I have everything stored in here as a setup file. I have a setup file for each of my episodes, and all I have to do is change the title, write the description. The base stuff is still there. Then I copy and paste it, and then I use Pastebot here to kind of go back and forth from doing all that kind of stuff. But this is basically it. And how I input data into here, I input it through the iPhone, I input it through the Mac, and through the Apple Watch doing audio. And I also been playing around in my house when I need to make a quick little note using an if then that recipe through my Google Home device. So that works as well. I do a lot of scanning as well. So I use my scanner, not my phone, but I use the actual scanner through the application on here, the image capture, which I set to the program to scan, not to a file, but scan to Evernote. And then I use the picture one on there to do other stuff. My calendars, I just use my phone because it's too hard to put on the actual scanner. But yeah, that's basically it. And I keep notes in here, and then I update, and I go through the inbox. Now I have 4 things in the inbox I need to sort out, and those are probably shopping things, because I have if I buy something online and I get the purchase receipt and the other orders, what I'll do is I use Spark, and then the email program Spark, and I can easily send it to the Evernote, and then I put it into my hotels. And if I buy some, or for my web orders, then if I make a reservation in a hotel, I also copy it over here. I send a copy to Evernote, and I put that in my hotel reservations. So that's basically how I do it. And I have instructions. So, for example, if I can find my notes here, see, this is the problem with the notebooks, is that it gets lost. So if I go into, this is not secret stuff. if I go into my instructions, I keep instructions for all the devices. So here's the Wi-Fi, how to use it for my rental system, for my Wi-Fi in my router, and then different accounts, information. I put the pictures of the passwords and the makers of different things in here, my headphones instructions. So I have everything here. It's easy to keep instructions. So I started doing that one. I don't have all in here, but whatever I can find a PDF, I throw it into here. So that's enough of my rambling about this. So let's get back to the live action part of the video. Okay, so that was a little bit on how I use Evernote in my day-to-day life. So hopefully you got something out of that. Please let me know in the description below. What program do you use for your note-taking? Do you use Evernote? Do you use another application? Please let me know. And if you have a video on how you have it set up, please put it in the links. I'd love to check it out. I'll put it in the comments below because I'd love to check that out. And on the next episode of this series, I'm going to talk about my calendar application, how I use a calendar. Now, this is going to be broken up into 2 episodes. The first episode is going to be about the digital version, the digital calendars that I use, which is basically fantastical, and I'm going to talk about how I have that set up. And then the second part, believe it or not, is the analog version, because in my productivity, it's not all digital. I have a lot of analog things that I use as well, and that's because that's how my brain works. I love digital things, but I need the analog as well. And the episode 2 of the calendar is going to show you my analog calendar and how I set this up. So stay tuned for that. So please subscribe to keep updated on this. This channel has my vlogs and other content about living in Japan. That's coming out very soon. So please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And until next time, we'll see you then. Goodbye.